I know that there are young people that listen to my show, and if there's anything that I can leave as a message for those young people is this, and I'm basing it on my experience in dealing with the cultural conscious community, going down a lot of dark alleys, and I don't regret any of it. I don't regret it because it helped me get to the point where I am right now, mentally and ideologically. But the one thing that I want to tell so that you don't have to go through those dark alleys and those, those mirages in the desert is, do not be a part of any cause. The first thing you need to do, and this is why the BAIO, I don't require, and the members of the BAIO don't require you to do anything. They don't require you to give your money to us. If you notice, we have not asked for any money from the general public. The only people that pay money is the people who are at the admin level who are actually producing these shows, because we do that to help each other. If we all paying toward the BTR channel, then we can all benefit from it. You know what I'm saying? The only thing we need for you to do is be a part of it. We're not asking for money. All we're asking for is your time. Just listen, like, share, subscribe to content. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the only way the message is going to get out. I've already been algorithm out of YouTube. I mean, people are hitting me up with private messages telling me that they can't even get my videos when I upload. Like, they have to literally type my name in and go to my channel to find out whether I uploaded a video. You know what I'm saying? So my message to the youth, in short, is don't be a part of some cause or some organization, and don't be some cog in the wheel for somebody else. Get yourself a skill. And if you are with an organization that's worth its salt, that organization is going to help you get a skill that you can carry and use without being a part of that organization. Because if we're really about individuals and helping our people, then we will teach our people skills so that those people can take those skills and apply it to every aspect of their life. They don't have to be tied at the hip at some organization. And, I've spoken to Thomas about this, Brother Thomas, and we've talked about this. We as an organization should be at some point able to give to people rather than take from people. The youth needs skills. I can give you examples of brothers who got into the conscious community and got into the quote-unquote the knowledge and never went to school, never learned a trade, never learned a skill, but they know them books. And unfortunately, you're living in America in a white society. What good is that going to really do you in terms of your own personal situation? You know what I'm saying? Like, I learned the knowledge, but I also learned skills. Go to school, get a skill. I mean, I know that people just into this are really gung-ho about, because that's what happens. When you get into it and you learn about your history and your culture, you get really excited, you get into it, and it's something like if you're obsessive-compulsive like I tend to be, you just absorb it all up. But don't lose focus and don't lose sight of the fact that you are an individual and you're living in this matrix here called the United States of America. And within this context, you need to have skills, you need to have a way to command a certain salary so that you can have a level of existence, so that you can take care of yourself, take care of your mate if you have one, and take care of your seeds, your children, if you have that. And that is most important. So that's what I stress. I love the BAIO, and the BAIO and all the brothers in the BAIO support the individual getting those skills, because when individuals get skills, those individuals can utilize those skills to help in nation building. But if you don't have skills, then all an organization can do with a person that doesn't have skills is use them. And we don't want to use you. You know what I'm saying? We want you to be a crucial and effective member in building a nation state. And the only way you can do that is with skills. So that's my message to the youth. Get your skills. if you can be down with these organizations in your spare time, but your main focus should be on getting skills. And on that note, because I got like 60 seconds, the lady's screaming in my ear, just going to end the live broadcast, and then I'm going to bring everybody in, and I'm going to leave you on this note.
We declare our rank on this earth to be a man, to be a human being, to be respected as a human being, to be given the rights of a human being in this society, on this earth, in this day, which we intend to bring into existence by any means necessary.
All righty. I'm bringing everybody in.
All right.
All right.
See, that was short and sweet.
Yeah, that definitely addressed the fatal flaw of, I was at I attended a conference on mental health over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I met someone that had some experience dealing with a set of the Bloods gang, and he was explaining just the appeal of the gang and how you had situations where people are having difficult situations with their home life, and members of the gang ended up, not only as friends, but they were providing counseling services to the extent that they could based on, different situations that people were experiencing and whatnot. So I guess this idea about, you have organizations that have a pattern of just using people, and I guess, in that use, it's I probably may also explain of, well, hey, we're going to not have people develop certain skills so that they can be more self-sufficient. So, I guess the idea of people, coming into what they believe is, greater, consciousness of African culture, Black history and whatnot. But there's a lack of development of practical skills where, these folks don't know how to solve problems and get paid for it. They haven't developed any skills or cultivated their talents in terms of producing products and services. So, yes, the best that they can do is work for someone else's business that went ahead and set that up. Yeah.
Yeah, I just felt that needed to be said. So.
Yeah, I want to know if Minister is on the line, because they asked the question about fiber optics, and I wanted to talk a little about that. Well, I guess I'll get that into the next show. But he asked what my thoughts on would be the use of fiber optics with respect to in the new nations thing. I think fiber optics, the technology, basically will be absolutely critical, especially if you deal with information systems, not only in security, but making sure that your nation has the best internet speeds imaginable. But he also mentioned something about it's sort of impervious to an EMI event, which is an electromagnetic event. Basically, it's a pulse that could be generated via a nuclear weapon above it, or the sun decides to release it. That is, Minister, you on the phone? Are you on the line? I don't think he is. But I should say this.
He's on the phone.
Neo.
Oh yeah. So
Neo's Thomas. Neo's Thomas.
Hey Thomas, how you doing? I was talking about
I was going to interject something about what you said about fiber optics.
Yeah.
In Tennessee, in Chattanooga, they started a project where the EPB, which the utility company has publicly run and owned, they went and made a fiber optic grid. So their electrical grid is fiber optic. And then what they did is everyone in the county had access to internet speeds of 1 gig, and that's been over like a 4-year period. Now the next level is everyone's going to have access to 10 gig speed.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
that's huge. 10 gig speed in the United States. There's no one else who's offering that kind of speed unless it's the exchanges get access to stuff like that because because of what they do with like electronic trading and stuff like that. But
of course,
10 gig speed is like ridiculous. So yeah, that would be an awesome way to start off on the continent, is having a 10 gig fiber optic network minimum.
Of course, at least 10 gig minimum. And what I wanted to say about that, it's absolutely essential. It's going to be a must with respect to building our nation. With respect to security, in terms of it being impervious to an EMI attack, it is. However, EMI attacks attack systems that deal, with electrons, basically the flow of electrons, anything from electricity. That comes with power stations, mainly affects power stations. It'll probably blow out a few circuits in your house or whatever. I would say if you want to protect against an EMI event, mainly from the sun, which we'll actually do pretty within the next couple of years or whatever, hopefully not within my lifetime. Basically, I tie this into what I said about the geothermal production centers, where you have an energy center that's underground, where the power stations will be, where they'll be stored. I think it's better, have a station that all of them are underground in the event that something like this happens. So that's basically what I wanted to add to that discussion. Add to that, to that question he had. One thing that I hear, I'll probably get on that next show or whatever.
Cool.
And just to let everybody know, all of you are on, so if you don't want to be heard, mute your phone. But everybody is on. Everybody can speak.
Yeah. Has there been a discussion yet regarding encryption, programming, learning how to pilot drones, using remote administration software? Because I think that, as there's going to be, more automation that's going to be coming online, particularly as these folks try to, prop up the illusion of the functionality of this economy with, increasing the minimum wage in various locations, that some folks are going to be like, well, hey, all right, the minimum wage is, let's say, $15 an hour. They go ahead and, get more machines, and then the fewer people that will still be working at that particular location, well, yeah, they'll be the ones that understand enough about the machines to maintain them or to deal with them. So I don't know if that came up in the discussion earlier before I called in.
I think we did. I don't think we talked about robotics and automation in this particular show. We did in the last one. In fact, I want to do a show in the future discussing emerging technologies. I'm going to call it fringe science, so to speak, where we're going to talk about things like the importance of robotics and automation. That's actually something I'm for with respect to building a nation, particularly with respect to producing goods at a very low rate, at a very low cost. I think robots are the only things that can actually produce things at a quicker and faster and cheaper pace than wage slaves, so to speak. Robotics are actually put China out of business eventually. And also it frees up the population to engage in more high-skilled endeavors. For example, if you're a society that's predicated on making sure your economy is based on a high skill level economy, basically you have mainly engineers, scientists, mathematicians working in your field, kind of like what Germany does, then these type of mundane kind of, jobs will essentially be sort of detrimental to the society in a way. So that's actually something I hope to discuss in a future show.
Yeah, I guess but then again, I guess we probably need to be very careful about having a self-aware Android farmhands because they might decide that, look, look, okay, you mistreated the humans that were doing this job before us, and now you mistreating us. It's like, yo, what's up?
You know what they call what you're talking about, Jelani, is it's called emergent properties. It's like the problem that, like, if you look at it from a biblical sense, the problem that God had with His creation. Like, you can put all of this stuff into it and create it and look at it and say, hey, look at what I did, but then consciousness develops and then it takes on a life of its own.
Yeah,
that's the emergent property. Yeah, it's like the best way to compare it is like a television. A television has all this wires and circuitry. You turn it on and you see a picture, but you can't find a picture. Like, you can't open up the TV and find the picture. The picture is the emergent property.
Yeah.
So that's what they're like, people like Hawkins and them is concerned with, is what would be the emergent property of AI.
Yeah.
And that's what they're afraid of.
So again, which leads me to the mindset of the people that create, the AI. Okay, now here's a good example. That recent movie, Chappie, right? And so Chappie's asking his maker, was like, okay, well, you put my consciousness in a body that, the battery is damaged. It's going to stop functioning in a week, and basically I'm going to die. Why'd you do this? I don't understand. You're my maker. Yo, what's up? And the dude literally had to be like, look, man, I didn't know that, you was going to develop to such a level of, sentience and consciousness, I'm so sorry. I mean, he had to, basically apologize to his creation for, being in a situation where
notice that all of this is products of the white paranoid mind. I'm going to give you a perfect example. I saw this movie. Yeah. I think it was Aliens 3. There's been so many of them, I forget. Like, it stopped being good after the first two. But
there
was a scene where she was, I think, Ripley was an alien at that point.
Oh yeah, they cloned her. Yeah. Like,
she got cloned. Now this is the part that
was
bugged
Alien
me out.
3.
Alien Resurrection.
Oh, that was Alien 3. This is the part that bugged me out. They mixed her genes up with the alien, and the alien gave birth to a hybrid human alien, right? The very first act, the baby comes out of the womb. The very first act of its existence is to kill the mother.
Right.
Yeah, problematic.
Not for food, not because it's hungry, just to kill. And I was like, that is the mind. Only a paranoid mind could come up with a concept like that.
And I'm happy we're actually talking about this, because I've always, when I've discussed particularly the importance of we as black people, black African people, developing advanced technology, taking sort of the lead in these fields of emerging technology, the importance of putting our sort of, pardon the term, spirituality into it. What I mean by that is our moral concept into it. And I've always akined it to the term of taking fire from a child. If you give a child a blowtorch to play with, and in this analogy, the child being, of course, the current race of people who are developing these technology, and the blowtorch being, of course, the technology itself and the implications thereof, what is the child going to do? He's naturally going to set the house on fire. Now, if you as the adult, being, I would say, by adult, I'm saying having a higher moral sense or having a more holistic sense of how things should work properly, it is your responsibility to sort of take this blowtorch from this child and have control of it. And that's another reason why I personally say that we, and I see, and it's so crazy, I go into a lot of the groups in Facebook, the supposed black center groups, and they talk about genetic modification, this stuff, like it's like something from the devil, so to speak. And I keep saying, listen, technology is a tool. How that tool is used is based on the person who uses it or develops it. I would say,
right.
And complaining about the tool is not going to make it go away. In fact, you can't make it go away because it's a tool that gives you power. I would, scratch the blowtorch. I would akin it to a child having a gun, because what happens is a child eventually is going to find out, hey, I could shoot stuff with this, and if the parent doesn't know how to disarm the child, of course, the child's going to threaten the parent with the gun. So it's very important that we take this gun away from this child and sort of, show how, or gun or fire from this child, and show how this thing can be used productively, humanely, and of course without all the, intrinsic European insanity that comes with their mindset. So actually, that's a good idea for another show. Take the gun from the child, so to speak. Why it's important that we, become the most scientifically advanced people, because we're the most, I would hope to say, most morally responsible, at least morally sensitive people on this globe with respect to the development of science or development of anything for that matter. And it's very interesting. It's a very interesting thing to think about, because
are you going to tackle that, Neil, or are you putting that out in the air?
Huh?
I said, are you going to tackle that yourself on one of these shows, or are you putting that out? Because that's powerful.
Huh? Actually, we're going to do a show. I'm actually going to get the whole up, because I'm in the process of moving stuff right now. So he kind of sort of like the surrogate host right now. He's allowing me to host. But I want to definitely attack that, because that's something that's very important, because you essentially have a psychotic race of people that are sort of leading the way in terms of developing some of the most powerful technologies out there. And you have a people who are, in our state, who understand what it means to be at the receiving end of abuse, and, sort of understand what it means to have a level of empathy in terms of what we do. And I find that amazing, even though I give a lot of people flack about, trying to take care of everybody else. I think it is in our sort of cultural mindset that, we have our problems, but at the same time, we're not monstrous with our stuff. We're monstrous to each other at times. But it's very important that we communicate the fact that how we can sort of develop these technologies in a beneficial and sane manner. At the same time, having to, being at the leading edge of advancements, so that when these people do advance, we're so much more advanced than they are that we can counteract whatever it is they do. Or I should say, be able to shut them down, at least repair the damage of what they do. It's kind of like the Vulcans in Star Trek. When they first came, the humans, they had to pretty much, step in and say, okay, you do this the wrong way, you're going to create a lot of damage, kind of thing. Well, another thing, like Star Trek with the Prime Directive, that's what it is. Basically, you have a less advanced race, or not, culturally mature race, developing highly advanced and dangerous technologies. What can happen? I think that's something we need to really tackle with respect to the STEM aspect of the BAL, why it's so essential that we lead the way in this. Now, I'm talking about all technologies. We need to be proficient in genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, nuclear science, all this stuff we need to be proficient in and understanding. Why? Because eventually, A, these technologies are going to be used against us, and B, we need to defend against these technologies when they're used against us, and C, develop these technologies in a way that's far more advanced than the way they're using it, so that we can effectively counteract what these people are doing with it. And, and I think it's a very moral imperative that why we do this. And not only that, from a sense of, burgeoning nationhood, not only that, but I think the world as a whole would probably breathe a breath of fresh air if you kind of take the gun away from the child. So that's kind of it.
Yeah.
So in a manner of speaking, we're essentially building Wakanda.
Yeah.
I mean, Lena, you have a short form metaphor, so people understand what we're talking about. Are we building Wakanda, essentially?
Wakanda?
Yeah, that's basically it.
Essentially, we're going to have to, because if we're talking about building a very powerful nation state, which will eventually, hope to emerge into a very powerful African empire. This thing has to be able to counteract what the people to the north and the people to the west of us are doing. I mean,
right.
because what they do eventually is going to affect everybody else eventually. I mean, if you look at the environmental record, all these other things that they've been doing, somebody has to be the adult in the room and take control of this situation and say, you know what, there has to be a sane and logical, or sort of a sane and responsible authority in these matters. And I think when we've been through our experience with them, and we have an intimate experience with them that no other people have had, and it was not a very pleasurable intimate experience with them, but nevertheless, it was one nevertheless. I say that puts us firmly in the place to, you know, have this sort of role, sort of like the black man's burden of the next coming, you know, years, so to speak. All the black man's burden is essentially counteract the white man's madness. So, yeah, I think that will be a very great discussion for a future show. We could call it taking the gun from the child kind of thing. Because that's what essentially, you know, it is.
Maybe we'll do it next week.
We should do it next week. I mean, let's see.
I'll book it right now.